when it's exaggerated into something less than human. And here's the part that should keep you up tonight. The promotional photograph on Target's own website showed a black child wearing it. Target apologized. The company says the costume was offensive and should never have been part of its assortment. It says it's looking closely at how this happened. I want to accept the apology, but I just can't accept it at face value. But I have a question, and it's the only question that matters. Who was in the room? Because a costume does not appear on a shelf in 1,900 stores by accident. Somebody sketched it, somebody sourced it, somebody costed it, somebody wrote the production description, somebody booked a photographer, hired a child model, styled that child, lit that child, and photographed that child. Somebody uploaded it, somebody approved the buy, somebody put it in a planogram and shipped it to distribution centers across the country. That is not one mistake. That is a chain of custody. And of every single link chain in that store, a person looked at Jim Crow's face and said, "Ship it." That's the whole editorial right there. And I want you to understand it's not a rhetorical question. It's a documented answer. In January of 2025, Target ended its 3-year diversity program. It shut down the initiative built especially and specifically to bring Black products from Black-owned and minority-owned businesses onto the shelves. It stopped reporting to outside civil rights organizations, and it replaced all of it with the word belonging. Now, remember where this company sits. Target is headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota. George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Target itself said Floyd's murder was a catalyst for those commitments. They stood in the ashes of their own city and pledged $2 billion to Black-owned businesses by 2025. They convened a committee. They accepted awards. They took the photographs. And then within weeks of a new administration taking office, they folded the tent. Understand what that decision actually did. It was not a press release. It was a personal decision. It removed people from rooms. It removed the buyer who would have flinched. It removed the marketing manager who would have said, "Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. What's this all about?" It removed the vendor who would have never designed this in the first place. Diversity was never a slogan on a wall. It was a person in a chair with the standing to say, "No, this doesn't work." You take that person out of the room, and 8 months later, Jim Crow is on the shelf next to fun-sized candy bars. Reverend Jamal Bryant led a 40-day fast on that store. Organizers in Minneapolis, Nakima Levy-Armstrong among them, have said from the beginning the boycott was indefinite and that it has never ended. Billions in market value evaporated. But here's what corporate America learned, and I want you to hear this plainly. Target's stock hit 52-week high last week, up roughly 63% this year. The lesson they took from the boycott was not change. The lesson they took was wait. So no, pulling the costume is not enough. An apology that names no one and costs nothing is not accountability. It's an inventory management. Target, here is what accountability looks like. Publish the chain. Tell us how many hands touched this and what happened to them. Restore the supplier program you killed. Put the money back and put the people back in the room who would have stopped this before it ever became a photograph of a Black child in a minstrel mask. America keeps opening this parenthesis and refusing to close it. Every generation, the same character comes back wearing a new label. This year it wears a circus clown. We're not confused about what we saw, and we're not going anywhere. And we're definitely, Target, not going away. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Thank you for listening to the editorial. Johnny Mack is our very special and regular contributor in this space. Dr. Mack is our progenitor of the leadership and the work of Martin Luther King Jr. right here at Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. He is one of the foremost authorities on the man and his work and has studied harder and more extensively and advised more modern civil rights leaders than just about anyone I know. Dr. Mack, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Good to be here.
Dr. Mack, we take 2 steps forward and then we take another couple of steps back to Jim Crow. Your initial thoughts before we come forward.
It seems like it, Jesse. Greatly appreciate the editorial. Well stated, well read. much to talk about there. There's much to talk about those, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Actually, Jesse, and the question is why? Why does society feel that now is the time to take those steps back and that they can actually get away with it, whoever they are? It's just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, Dr. Mack. Should there be consequences? I mean, we're on for 40 days with Jamal Bryant, then we're off. And then as soon as we take our foot off the brake, as soon as we take, if you will, our proverbial knee off of Target's neck,
yeah,
then Chauvin shows back up.
Well, Jesse, I learned a long time ago that people treat you the way you let them treat you, whether that's individually or collectively. And I think the point that you just made speaks to that idea that we have to decide when enough is enough and how are we going to allow people to treat us. Remember, they treat you the way you let them.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, Annie Lou Hamer. I'm sick and tired of having the same conversation too, Johnny. If it's not Target today, it's someone else. They didn't just eliminate diversity, equity, inclusion. They eliminated corporate sensitivity to a significant market share of their customers. And they've opened it up to people who are insensitive, and that's a real problem. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with Johnny Mack.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's good, KBLA delegation? I am Miles Lowe, and I'm excited to be joining the weekend lineup right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Join me every Saturday at 12 noon for the Do Better Show, where we get into the world of tech, AI, the creator economy, navigating your mental health through it all, and have conversations with founders to find out how real people are making real money right now. It's not a course, not a subscription. Class is in session every weekend, live on the air. So if you knew better, you do better, right? So let's make a better you. The Do Better Show, every Saturday, 12 noon, and replaying again at 7 p.m. right here on Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk.
Brothers and sisters! There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call Select Quote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
My name is Khalifa Bey. I am the founder of the South LA Bureau of Tourism and Trade. And how this is impacting me is that I can't promote it. I won't promote it. I hear a lot of talk about everybody. Accountability is responsibility. Change your vote. Change the vote. I know there's a lot of Democrats in this room, and I get all that. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result, it ain't gonna happen. And it's not about Democrat, Republican. It's about getting what we need to get done. That's what it is for me. Because this is deliberate. This of our communities. You look at Chicago. You look at all the black communities were built by us. We're in the same condition. So to me, it's by design. And if we don't do something to change the vote to get to what we need, stop having these meetings.
Making sure they stick to the truth. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Johnny Mack is a social entrepreneur, a scholar practitioner with expertise in subject areas of peace, conflict, and social change movements. Dr. Mack's research includes extensive study of Martin Luther King Jr.'s logic of nonviolence and the U.S. civil rights community. Dr. Mack, given all that's taking place right now, including Target, Dr. King famously spoke about the World House, the idea that we must learn to live together in peace or perish together as fools. Given today's global and national tensions, how close or how far are we from realizing the World House vision?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I was reminded yesterday in a conversation, Jesse, that Dr. King wasn't necessarily suggesting that we needed to build the World House, this person argued. He reminded me that King saw the world as a great big house. And so the question is, if we're not building the house, then what is it that he's calling us to? What is the vision? And the answer to that question is how we live with each other in this house and how we furnish the house, right? Who enjoys the accoutrements in the house? Who gets to sleep in the master bedroom, and so on and so forth. We can continue the metaphor. But so what does the house look like today? I think we've recognized throughout our conversations over the many months that we've been doing this, Jesse, that every week we seem to be taking another step backwards. We're losing ground. The house that we spent, and those who came before us spent such precious and careful time furnishing and improving, is now in horrible disrepair. And I think, Jesse, that's exactly how King would view it. And he would wonder what in the world has happened that we've lost so much, that we've allowed the house to be now arguably in shambles.
Johnny, I could open up the front door of my house right now, and sitting there is a welcome mat. Welcome. I've got another door that says, "All who enter, please bring some wine." But there's a welcome mat at my front door. I doubt it very seriously if there is a radio station anywhere in this country or a radio show in this country where two white men are sitting down having a conversation, talking about overtures or reaching out to the Black community. They might be discussing what Trump's doing or how they're benefiting from Trump or what they don't like, or Trump may be going too far. But the very overtures that we have been conditioned to make, largely because of our Christology, our study of Jesus, and largely because of our study of really the disciple of nonviolence in the United States, Martin Luther King Jr. He brought this idea to us forcefully from Howard Thurman, this inward journey. And we engage in this regular reflection every single day. But Johnny, I could turn my radio dial and not get very far from where we are at KBLA Talk 1580 on the AM dial. And there's going to be a white conversation, and ain't nobody reaching out over there for none of us about nothing we think about what's going on. Johnny, that's not a world house. That's different bandwidths. We're talking past each other, Johnny.
Yeah. Well, Jesse, I would argue that is the state of the world house. It's still the house, but it seems like we're living on different floors in the house. We're living in different rooms. Again, however we want to extend the metaphor, or to use your own, you've got a welcome mat, at the door of your house, and it seems as though they're pushing us out of the house, standing on that mat, wondering if in fact we are welcomed. And again, I think that's the point that I was just making. We've lost ground. But Jesse, I also made the point that people treat you the way you let them treat you. And I don't think that we should rush past that. What must we do? What are the things we must do differently? You mentioned Reverend Jamal and his leading a march against, or a protest against Target. And that protest seems to have ended. And so has Target's consciousness or conscience about how it treats its
customers.
Yeah. And so, frankly, I'll admit it. I haven't shopped at that store from the very beginning of that march since, and I don't know that I ever will. But at what point do we decide that enough is enough? That we're simply not going to spend our money in places where we are not welcomed.
Johnny, you define nonviolence as nonviolent resistance. Nonviolence resistance isn't just, I'm thinking in this moment, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't just, I'm not going to Target, but I'm also encouraging other people not to go, meaning I'm taking the opportunity to educate people about Target's behavior. It's not just my single act of withdrawal of economic enthusiasm from the company. It's nonviolent resistance, meaning I'm going to go out of my way and organize an activity to keep people and bring them consciousness about what Target has done and is doing. And Target is the target, but there are many other targets without the name Target that are out here, that it's not just enough for me to turn my back on nonviolently. There is a resistance that requires an affirmative act on my part.
Yes, and in fact, Jesse, it's not just resistance, it's protest as well. It's also non-cooperation. Why would I cooperate with my own demise? Why would I cooperate with my own the injustice that is imposed upon me? Why would we cooperate with that? And so I think, perhaps your point is, we should fully understand that we have to understand what violence really is and what nonviolence really is, and how we use those two value systems to create the kind of world we want, the kind of life that we live. And too much of the fundamental values that drive our economic policies and practices are based upon fundamental violent principles that deny our human dignity and worth, Jesse. We just, in the same way that the Constitution didn't fully recognize the full humanity of African Americans. So it is, it seems, in our marketing and our retail sales policies throughout corporate America. There's something terribly wrong with that, and we must do more than merely resist. We must create our own institutions and organizations. If you won't treat me fairly, if you won't do right by me in your store, ought I not be establishing my own?
I really respect that. I really respect that angle. I mean, starting a small mom and pop store against the backdrop of a Target and a Lowe's and a Walmart, where the scales of these large malls have now sucked up all of the grocery stores, because small business really can't compete, particularly in urban areas, with these big box stores.
That's right.
But these big box stores, to your other point, and to my editorial's point, are all down the supply chain. It's not just cash registers. By the way, they're replacing us with automated machines where we slide a bar across how we pay for our products at these stores. It's not just cash registers. It's shelving. It's trucking. It's moving products to market. It's taking the photography or advertising every single product on every single shelf as a complete institution, for the most part, behind it that brings it to the market. And I remember when I was growing up, maybe I was 6, 7 years old. Martin Luther King Jr. had only been deceased for about 4 years. But I remember the A&P boycotts that we used to lead in Chicago, and some of the withdrawal of enthusiasm campaigns around the country to get Black products on shelves, including Afro Sheen and Joe Louis milk and other Glory collard greens. To have Black folks' products on a shelf didn't just happen. It was a protest that led to their recognition that we had products that our community wanted to buy, and they wanted to buy them conveniently in those stores. That's part of the movement too, isn't it, Johnny?
It is part of the movement. But Jesse, let's keep in mind something. We're getting to the point where going to the market is really a 20th century experience. It won't be long before we won't need that market. We won't need even the big box store.
You telling me my stuff's about to be delivered to me at my front door by a little robot?
I think that's right, Jesse. I think your welcome mat is going to have a robot on it. Not gonna
a battery charging station on my roof.
So what do we do about that?
I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. These robots aren't coming to the ghetto, man. They're not landing no drones in the Black community unless there's surveillance. It ain't happening.
And Jesse, that's not tongue in cheek. That's
dead serious.
Yeah,
the Negro is going to keep going to grocery shopping because it ain't happening. They're not going to drop this on your roof or in your yard for you to pick it up, and then you call in later and say you didn't get it. It's not going to happen. I mean, I know white folks.
Well, Jesse, more than that, you got to have money to buy, right? I don't know.
We got to sue them. We're going to sue them to even have our parcels dropped off from a drone. It's going to have to happen. They're going to discriminate on where those little carts deliver groceries and fast food once they find a way around Uber Eats and eBay. That's going to happen just as sure as I'm sitting here because, Johnny, let me be candid with you. Part of our social justice analysis, if it doesn't take into account capitalism itself and the desensitization that comes with capitalism itself. I was at a store a few years ago, and initially I didn't feel welcome in the store. I mean, I got an instinct, right? I didn't feel welcome. And I bought a bunch of this product that I particularly needed for a project in this store. And they figured out it was me that was coming into the store, right? And other customers had heard that I'd come into the store, bought the things that I wanted. And then they said, the owner said, well, how do you feel about him coming in to buy this right here from you, to buy car tires or whatever? The guy's response was, I'm a capitalist. I don't care that he came into my store. I'm a capitalist. In other words, he doesn't care about our human rights or value if we are coming in there to do business. This is not a social interaction proposition. And that's kind of where I am, Johnny. I see why Dr. King arrives at a system that produces beggars. A system that produces these attitudes and these behaviors, not just the one-offs. Somebody had a bad day and called me the N-word, which can be a bad day every day for that person who calls me the N-word, especially if I feel like putting my foot in their mouth. But that's not the point. The point is the system itself generates it, and it generates it over and over and over again. Johnny, we got about 30 seconds.
Well, I can't do it in 30, but let me just quickly try. Jesse, that system is rapidly changing. The very system that King talked about, in the mid-60s, we wouldn't recognize in another few years. What does that system look like moving forward? And how do we respond to that?
That's our question coming forward. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. Johnny Mack in the World House when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Esther Dillard with BIN News Now. Chicago is celebrating a new affordable housing project on the South Side. Mayor Brandon Johnson cut the ribbon yesterday at the Charles Earl School Apartments.
This development will serve individuals and families who are at risk of homelessness and offer wraparound services to ensure residents can plant roots for themselves and their families for years to come.
The retrofitted historic school now offers 50 affordable, supportive homes. A federal appeals court won't toss the assault case against Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. It's tied to a scuffle at an ICE facility last May. McIver and Newark's Mayor Ross Baraka were touring the site when agents moved to detain him. Prosecutors say McIver assaulted an agent in the chaos. Judges ruled touring was her job, interfering wasn't. Monica disagrees. She could face 17 years if convicted. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Number 14. That's where Talkers Magazine ranked Tavis Smiley on their heavy 100 list of the 100 most important talk radio hosts in America. Join Tavis weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh no! Turn the roof down.
Oh, look like a time.
Please, God, save us. Save our house. Please, God, please.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we haven't forgotten what happened Tuesday, January 7th, 2025.
The trauma, processing the loss of our home. How do we address the compounding effect of the fire now more than 18 months later? I noticed one of my 3 children engaged in self-harm who hasn't been able to articulate the challenges that they've had since the fire. And 4 out of the 5 folks in our household are in therapy. 1 is not. And the one that's not is the one who I noticed with some marks on their person. This isn't okay. You need to talk to someone.
Black historical memory keeps alive the stories and struggles of everyday people and communities. Black historical memory preserves truths that others attempt to erase, minimize, or distort. Black historical memory prevents history from repeating its worst chapters. At KBLA Talk 1580, we will never forget. Tune into Conversation Live, Altadena Forward with James Farr, weekends on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley.
Culture in my lifetime has been as impactful, if not more impactful, than politics or law or any other pursuit or business. You know, I like to say culture is undefeated.
Culture is undefeated. That's what Council President Marquise Harris Dawson says. And you know what? He's right. Culture is undefeated. But here's the problem. You don't get to celebrate the culture while ignoring the people who created it. And that's where this procrastination Crenshaw conversation gets real. As you know, the community sent a formal letter to Harris Dawson. We're still waiting for an official response from the city. The deadline is Friday, September 4th. But in the interim, Harris Dawson penned an open letter to the community. Okay, that's fine, but responding is not the same as answering. That said, let's not confuse fixing the parking, repairing the streetlights, and repaving streets and sidewalks with finishing Destination Crenshaw. The community was promised a transformational project. So, where is it? When is this thing going to be finished? The council president says the project is being delivered on a timeline. What timeline? That's not an unreasonable question. And that's not an attack. It's not division. That is accountability. And then there's the business interruption money. So in his letter, Harris Dawson says that more than $1 million went to Doolin's on Crenshaw, and additional assistance went to a few other individuals. Oh, really? Who received the money? How much money? And who didn't? I can assure you a whole lot of folk didn't get that money. How do I know? I'm getting the phone calls. You see, transparency should not scare anybody. That's how accountability works. And that's why in our letter, we ask for an audit. But instead, what do we get? A discussion about Tavis Smiley, the pastor, the parishioners, the business owners, the people asking the questions, their motives, their ambitions, their character. Well, let me tell you something. When you can't answer the questions, attacking, insulting, and gaslighting the persons asking the questions doesn't make the questions disappear. It just makes people ask why you won't answer it. Let me be clear. We don't want to fight with the council president. We want the project finished because the people of Crenshaw are not on the sidelines, Mr. President. They are Crenshaw. And if culture really is undefeated, then respect the culture, respect the people, respect the businesses, and most importantly, respect the questions. Now, answer them. The Crenshaw Corridor community is still waiting, and September 4th is fast approaching. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Just talking louder and say nothing and say nothing.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. junge show. King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in the World House with Johnny Mack. Johnny Mack's research includes extensive study of Dr. King's work. Dr. King's Peaceable Power, this framework that Johnny articulates, is about peaceable power as direct, structural, and cultural nonviolence with correlating strategic, conscientious, and cultural action correlates. Dr. Mack, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Johnny, just before the break, I only gave you 30 seconds to respond, but please take your time.
So we're living in the middle of a significant change, Jesse. And, Bill Gates, you may have seen his essay, his almost 6,000 word essay. Now, when one of the richest men in America and maybe the world suggests that we're in serious trouble, the old saying, when a certain group catches a cold, other groups catch pneumonia or worse. And anytime you hear Bill Gates saying we're in for deep doo-doo, deep trouble with AI, imagine what that's going to do to those of us who are struggling just to catch up with, in many cases, the Industrial Revolution itself. And so when we talk about restructuring the social edifice, we can't be looking at an edifice in the mid-20th century. Jesse, we've got to prepare for what is to come in this century. And as Gates indicated, it's coming faster than they can keep up with it. What then can we expect? How then, how do you protest an algorithm, Jesse? How do you resist an algorithm? How do you not cooperate with an AI system that has full access to all information that ever was and maybe even ever will be? How are we preparing ourselves for that kind of world? Jesse, that's the kind of conversation we need to be having, not only with ourselves, you and I, in this setting, but our people throughout this nation and around the globe. As King said, difficult days ahead. He could not have imagined, or maybe he did, that these days are those days of which he spoke.
All you've shared with me is that capitalism is on automatic now, that it's completely automated, that it can trade stocks, it can trade people, it can fight for greater efficiencies in the workplace. It needs fewer and fewer people. You can wake up every day and have a conversation with AI or with Claude or with Chat GPT or whatever it's called, and never speak to the people living with you in your own home because you're having a constant conversation with them. They're answering all of your questions. And so there is a breakdown in the social fabric. And I'd even argue that there's even a breakdown in the Constitution, which I've always believed was a flexible document, but it was most definitely written for people. Now, that's a lot to say, right? Because we were 3/5 of a human in the document, because women were excluded, and all of these categories of people who were not American without citizenship until the 14th Amendment. Hey, I get it. But now that there is a dividing line between what we did not have then and what we do have now, a constitution that was clearly written to address human beings and human circumstances is now almost outdated because the Constitution cannot offer a remedy to that which ails us as fast as artificial intelligence and the economy is moving away from any kind of regulation that benefits the people themselves. Johnny, the World House is in a lot of trouble.
It's in a lot of trouble, Jesse. And again, we have to take the time to think through how we are going to respond to it. It's one thing to describe what the problem is. It's another thing to have the discipline, the focus, and to take the time to develop the strategies that respond to it for our benefit. And I'm afraid we're not doing enough of that. resisting, protesting, non-cooperating is important. That prepares the situation for change. But it in itself, Jesse, is not the change. And so we have to come together as a people and work toward the solutions that are going to ensure that we have full participation in whatever is to come in a way that benefits us as others are benefited. The challenges are huge, Jesse.
At this moment, something very unique is happening tomorrow, Dr. Mack, and I'd like to hear your thoughts about the significance of the March on Washington, August 28th, tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Share with us your thoughts about that and the leadership that Martin III, as well as Reverend Sharpton, are providing at this hour.
Well, of course, it is a commemoration of and a recognition of the famous 1963 march. And that marching, of course, is important. And I'll be there. I'm sure you'll be there to call the nation's attention to what we are confronted with today. And you'll hear many, many speeches from across the nation, many, many statements about the challenges that we face, but also, Jesse, the opportunities that we face. And if we can't be there in person, we must be there in spirit. But the march tomorrow is only a moment in time, and it's an important moment in time. But we must carry forward, and this is the message, Jesse. We must carry forward the clarion call that we'll hear tomorrow on what we must do to continue in our struggle for full participation, full recognition of our dignity and worth and participation in this great experiment. That's what the march is about tomorrow.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're going to talk about the March on Washington when we come forward. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. right here on KBLA. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
My name is Bronwyn, and I've been in this neighborhood for 65 years.
All righty.
I was raised here, right on Crenshaw Boulevard. Ancestry, legacy, everything. No parking. In regards to our elderly, in regards to trying to get from one end to the other, 48th and 50th Street is a dead zone. You got to get off the bus and you got to make your way down in the middle of the block. I'm right across the street. I understand one of the things. I am happy to see you guys. I've been in too many meetings where you weren't there. I understand those who own the buildings and your properties. I understand those who rent from you. Here it is. Why can't we invest in each other?
Making sure they follow through. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Chris Holden, former California Assembly member, former mayor of Pasadena, and CEO of LA Fire Justice. I've spent my career fighting for our communities. When I saw Edison celebrating $4.5 billion in profits while Eaton fire survivors struggled to make ends meet, it made me simultaneously sick and furious. Families and individuals are dealing with financial pressure, insurance delays, costly remediation, and the painful question of how to rebuild their lives, while the utility that caused the fire is paying its executives millions and is more profitable than ever. That's not justice. That's a disgrace. Join the lawsuit with LA Fire Justice to hold Edison accountable. We're here to help you, your family, and our community recover. Visit lafirejustice.com today to learn more about your eligibility and how to start.
Advertisement. Douglas Boxer, 221 East Walnut Street, Suite 100, Pasadena, California, 91101 is the attorney responsible for this ad.
LA Fire Justice is proud to sponsor Conversation Live. Altadena Forward with James Farr.
At the Y, strength means something different. It means people of all ages being together. It means you can be swishing the game-winning shot, learning to plie in first position, jabbing, crossing, and hooking a punching bag, canoeing in the lake at summer camp, donating food for your neighbors, watching your son learn about water safety in the pool. 175 years later, there's still no place like this place. Get involved at your Y. Learn more at ymca.org.
The way I do laundry hasn't really changed until now. Have you seen the new Tide Evo? It may look different, but now I get it. It's a super concentrated laundry detergent towel from Tide, packed with 6 layers of cleaning power. You just toss it in the washer and it dissolves instantly in water. It's built differently to fight tough stains. I love it because Tide Evo comes in a lightweight cardboard box. There's no bulky plastic bottle taking up space. It's perfect for me because I have no space for anything, especially with having twins. It's double the mess and double the load every time. And the biggest perk, it makes getting a Tide clean feel so easy. Try the new Tide Evo super concentrated laundry detergent today.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are in the World House with Johnny Mack. Johnny, before we go forward with our continuing conversation about the March on Washington tomorrow on August 28th at the Lincoln Memorial, Johnny, how can our listeners follow you and be supportive of your work?
They can find us at the World House Project. That's our website, theworldhouseproject.org. And visiting that website, learn about all of our programming, not only in the United States, but around the globe and our global network. They can join that global network. That would be wonderful support. Our listeners can also make a tax-deductible contribution on our website, Jesse. Thank you for asking.
Johnny, I appreciate you very much. Johnny, your work is a direct extension of what Dr. King was focusing on at the hour of his death. August 28th is a special day in your scholarship, in your life, in your thinking, in your theology, and in your philosophy. Again, Johnny, the significance of tomorrow and what we can expect going into November and beyond. What are you listening for tomorrow, Johnny?
Well, Jesse, more than what is said, it's who is saying it, who is there. How are we organizing as a people? We're going to see labor. We're going to see civil rights organizations. We're going to see education. We'll see business leaders as well. And we should look for the cross section of this nation represented in this important march, the 63rd anniversary of the March on Washington. After 63 years, that March for Justice and Jobs, here we are, 63 years later. So yes, I'm grateful for Reverend Al Sharpton, Martin Luther King III, and others who have organized the march. We're going to hear about how important November is, of course, and we've been talking about that, particularly Atiba and yourself, on how important the vote is. But we'll hear not only about the vote in this upcoming election, but the vote for 2028 as well. There's much preparation that starts now, not waiting until November of 2028. There's preparation that we must do now to prepare for the changing of the political guard, which we hope to see, of course, Jesse, in these midterm elections and, of course, in the presidential election in 2028. So I'll be listening for messaging on how we can respond, how we can prepare ourselves, how we can organize and mobilize ourselves in response to the challenges that we face.
I was listening very carefully in the last hour to Dr. Marvin Dunn about the 1920 Okosi and Rosewood massacre that occurred over voting, over confusions of voting. And now we've got a Supreme Court ruling that doesn't answer clear questions, according to Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. And there are people who very well could end up going to the polls and being told that they are not eligible to vote, even though they have been voting for years, or they are newly registered for whatever reason. Their names don't show up on some kind of list
that the
Department of Justice that is sending to states to determine who can and cannot vote. And all it takes is a small band of terrorists, if you will, at any one polling location in the United States where such a denial is taking place, to have a repeat of a 1920 event, the Rosewood event over voting. I am, I'm struck at this hour by the sense of hope that you maintain in spite of it all, and Martin Luther King III and Reverend Al Sharpton's efforts to give us a very narrow focus. And of course, our own contributors, Barbara Arnwine and Atiba, who have suggested we must simply overwhelm the polls this year so that there is no doubt. We must win elections by tens of thousands of votes, not close votes. They must be out of reach. Johnny, we have about 4 minutes before we come forward. Take your time. Give us a word of hope. This is our last hope before August 28th, March on Washington.
Well, before talking about that hope, if I can also say, Jesse, to what you've just said about voting in numbers, we have to be sure that we stand vigilant even after we've voted, to insist that our votes are counted. So our work is not done when we walk out of that booth. Our work continues to hold the election commissions around the country, that election process, hold it accountable to ensure that our votes are counted and justice is served in our voting process. Now, the hope itself, that we are still gathering, still have the opportunity, Jesse, to gather. It's not easy. I happen to be part of the inside conversation in the planning of this event tomorrow. You'd be surprised. Well, you wouldn't be, Jesse. You've had this experience, but how difficult it is, particularly in today's climate, to even hold a march on Washington. If you think it was difficult in 1963, we have a climate today where they're making it very difficult to mobilize and organize this march. And so my hope and my message is in the courage and the leadership that we see and those principally responsible for that march, and particularly Reverend Al and Martin III, for what they are doing to make the call and to stand in the gap, to provide that leadership that's so necessary. So I have great faith and hope in that leadership, and how we, each and every one of us, even if we can't be there in person, we'll be there in spirit to support those who will call the nation to its conscience, to do the right thing, and to ensure that we have fair elections.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We have been in the World House with Dr. Johnny Mack. We're on our way to Washington, D.C. See you guys there tomorrow. We're going to wake up the nation, wait for a clarion call on the significance, the importance of the hour, as well as get our marching orders. Study war no more.
That's right.
Fight for justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. No justice, no peace. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward. I'll see everybody on Monday.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Esther